Tanchi Kiewa, hello, how are you all? Welcome to Homelands, originally broadcast on CFCR, Community Radio 90.5 FM in Saskatoon, Homelands of the Métis and Treaty 6 territory, CFCR.ca. This is your favorite Auntie, Andrea Letting Dishnu Kashoon. Call me Auntie Andy if you like, and I'll be your host today. I'm part settler, part relative, and 100% ally to everyone. I'm just me, not a card-carrying member of any Indigenous nation, but I am loved, adopted by, related to, and accepted by many, rejected by a few, but haters gonna hate, relators gonna relate. I have Indigenous family relations in my family and may secretly love them a little bit more than all the rest, but only because they are the original peoples of this land who have welcomed all the guests. I am mostly Irish with a bit of Scandinavian, with a little bit of mystery, and that's the way I was raised. Strongly decolonial, with a sense of justice for all, with a big related heart for all. I most relate with my Batosh Métis family and friends and that history and culture growing up, and have continued to try and live that beautiful good life, that meal Pimitiswin. So, from the fringes of the sash, I situate myself and welcome you all as brothers, sisters, cousins, nieces, nephews, relatives in the homelands, and I welcome our relative today. Today we have my brother from another mother, Kevin Wesaquate. He is from Pie Pot First Nations, and he is from Treaty 4 territory, but still Plains man, just that Regina area around there, down south a little bit. But he is living here in Treaty 6 in Saskatoon. He's got a beautiful family that I know. He's got three sons, one daughter, uh, and he is all kinds of things. He's a storyteller, which he's going to be, sharing some of that with us today, some of that good storytelling medicine. And he is also a visual artist. Like he does absolutely stunning stuff. I brought one year I bought Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for my brother, and he does amazing things. A visual artist, and he's also a very well-known spoken word artist. He's done spoken word poetry for years and founded the Indigenous Poets Society. He's helped get anthologies out there. He's helped plant Saskatoons. He's just an all-around activist. He's also an editor. He just keeps adding little feathers to his cap as to what he does, and he just quietly goes out there and makes the world a better place. And I also got to say, I asked him to adopt one of my sons. That's how impressed I was with him, and we all play together on a team called the Kevs. It's not named for Kev, but he is the original only Kev on the Kevin Costner Memorial Baseball team. So, without further ado, Kevin, jump in here and anything I've missed, start us off in that good way.
I
And
think.
before I do that, I should pass you the tobacco. So here we go.
Oh, oh,
Here we
oh,
go.
what? Oh, there it is. Oh, right through the magical internet, passing it forth. And I accept this humbly. And I'm going to take this to my home territories to, go in a sweat. I do a nice, lodge there in the spring and then one in the fall when the snow comes. So this is going to be for my spring ceremonies and stuff. Hey, hey, thank you. Appreciate you. I always keep my community here in Saskatoon as part of my family, and I consider Andrea very much a part of that family. A sister from another Mister. I don't know how to put it, but yeah, there it is. Anyways, yeah, I like. There's things that I do. I sit on art. I create art. I have a whole bunch of films. I've been documenting a lot of stuff that I do not only with poetry and literature, but with camera. And I've been trying to learn more as I go. And every once in a while, different people pick me up for different projects. I was getting this call from the United States all of a sudden, just before Christmas time. A lady by the name of Mary Blackstone had requested me and was said I was in the demand for this project. So now I'm the lead artist of a project that's going to be happening in Regina with On Cue Performance, and we're going to be producing this play. And right now, it's looking fabulous. Fabulous is looking so good. And I'm going to share a little bit of that story with us today, just to kind of get us into that mode of storytelling. And it's basically the same story that's going to be implicated into this play, the base of the play. A lot of the work that I do and a lot of the things that I do always revolves around this idea of belonging and making people feel like they belong to something greater. When I was a kid, I always, I craved that feeling, like I knew that I was indigenous, and Nahewan, Nehewak, from Piapot First Nation. And I grew up in urban environments, and I was like, well, they have all these programs and stuff. And I was like, all the time I knew that my genealogy and my ancestry and my bloodline dictated that these are all of our territories all across Turtle Island, all the indigenous people. But every once in a while, like it was like rental project to program to organization to this and this and this. It wasn't never a feeling like a really solid in place. This is it. These are our foundations. It was just kind of like moving around. So I crave that, and I try to build that for folks and give them that sense of belonging. And I really strongly feel that this story that I've come across here in my university years, well, I heard Nogo Maikokum talking about it when I was a little boy. And with storytelling, I never thought that I would ever become like a storyteller. It wasn't until recent years that I kind of discovered, with spoken word poetry and and the storytelling behind that. It's actually what I was doing. I was actually telling stories, and on a repetitive level. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the way Kukum and my Kukums would teach me, is just like telling you over again, over again, over again until you get it right. And like these are valuable teachings. So I just want to get into it and talk to it a little bit. And I'm trying to do something right now. I'm trying to add the drum into my storytelling. One of the things that I do with kids when I travel and I share the same type of story is clearing the space. And clearing the space, I get the kids to like tap on their tap on their desk with their fingers like that, and then it gets harder and harder. Finally, it's just this, and they're stomping on the ground, and they're just totally into it. And then I just like kind of like let them settle down and calm down after that. It's kind of hard sometimes. It's kind of like releasing the buffalo or something, and it's just a wild stampede of kids just enjoying themselves. But that's what I want. I want that energy to be there, and it helps me to allow all of our relations understand that this is what's going to happen now. I'm going to tell a story. And after it's calmed down, I get into it. And I'm going to get into it right now. I guess I should introduce myself. Tanse, so Kevin Wesaquate, Piapot Ochinia. My name's Kevin Wesaquate from Piapot First Nation. The story should be shared. The story should be celebrated. The story that I'm going to tell you dates back older than this country. Before there was borders, before there was fences, before there was roads, before there was maps, we operated and we lived on this land. We traveled. We understood the land by landmarks, ways of being. That we had our own ways. Our own paths. And I asked my Kukam one time. My Kukam didn't speak English. She spoke only Cree. And so my aunties were often there translating for me, and I take my Kukum tobacco. I still have her gifts that she gave me. I took my Kukum tobacco and talked to her. It's like, I came across this piece of land here on farmer's land here near Saskatoon, and they have a medicine wheel there. But they said I could go and visit this medicine wheel and be there, but I want to know and I want to respect it in such a way that I go there and I bring my tobacco. And she said those ways have been basically lost to us for so long. Those ways have been they tried to get it out of us by Indian boarding schools and stuff like that. And it was wrong to leave the reserve. We were all confined to these little spaces, and we weren't able to go to these places and celebrate our culture and traditions. She said, but understand this, she said that whenever you come across these mounds and old fire pits and mounds and of course old campsites out on a prairie, that you have to respect that and try your best not to touch it or disturb it in any way. She said that when she was a little girl, she heard the elders talking or a family talking that there was this particular location that they can date back, that they were going to well over 800 years, from family generation to family generation to family generation. They went back to the same campsite to practice their traditional teachings and laws, and they have mounds around there, and an old teepee site and whatever. Um, and she said that our people were so in tune and connected to the earth that we didn't believe in and say, oh, I'm going to go set up a camp over there because it looks really great. I love the way the water looks on, or no, this one over here, we'll go here next year. No, that's not the way it was. They always had a traditional space that they went to, and how they did it, right? They always went to this traditional spot, and they always kept their family going to these different spots. Now, a lot of these teachings come from around up north by Sweetgrass and Little Pine and Poundmaker and around that area through those families. Hey, there's different stories that exist out there about the land and how we approach things. And she said the basic understanding is just to go be there and listen. Keep an open mind. Say your prayers and just be there. So I've been doing that. And I've been like fortunate enough as an artist to travel all across this great nation here in Canada as an artist, telling stories, sharing poetry, spoken word, visual art. But I've always made it a habit to respect the elders, respect the people, and go and respect the water. So I go and offer my tobacco and just have the water listen to me. An elder told me out in Grand River, the Grand Territory there, late Dan Smoke. Yeah, his sorry to the community, they just lost him. But he said the water, it listens. It knows our stories. It knows that you're gonna be here, and it knows that it'll carry on those traditions for you. You just have to speak to it, and show it that respect. Just as we, show respect to each other, we have to do the same, for the water and stuff like that. But so the story begins now that there was this young couple within a group of people. They had just had a baby, and this young couple, they love to visit, they love to sing their songs, play hand games, and just be young and just love life. And they had a little guy, he was just growing up, and the scouts came back to the community. The hunters, they came back, and they told them, the herd that we want and following is moving further away. We're gonna have to pack up everything tonight, and we're gonna have to get ready because we all have to leave together in the morning. First thing, sagista now when the sun is coming up, when it's got, we have to go and keep up. So they all, they were all listening, and it was relayed across the community. But the young couple was confident. We'll sleep in, it's okay. We'll be able to catch up in no time. But they slept in a little too much that night. It was mid-afternoon coming into thing, and when they got up, of course, everybody was gone, but they could clearly see that path where they went. So they packed up everything, they took down, their teepee, their lodge, and they put everything on those two long poles fastened together. The travois, the two long poles, and they put everything on hides, and they tied it all down just as they learned from their families and stuff. But they were still young, but they're confident, and they're like, okay, now we're going to be able to catch up to them. Let's go. So they're moving at a nice quick space. Even Nicosis, the little boy, was on top. Nicosis to them, Nicosis is my son to me, on top, and they were traveling it. They're making their way over the prairie. They could see the path. They're confident and laughing, talking to each other. Young love coming into. Right now it's coming into Valentine's Day. It was there. You could feel it. We've all been there. It's a beautiful thing. And now They were moving, but it was starting to get later in the day, so they panicked and they started to run. They're moving really fast, eh? And they're just like, oh, we got to get over this next hill. Oh, the next hill, they're going to be there. They're panicking. They're moving really quick. Their family were far off, further than they expected. And they're like, oh, did we go off track here? What's going on? So they were moving, and finally they seen their people far off on a hill. There's like, oh, now we can slow down. But this is where the tragedy happened, and this is where the hurt, like this is where the unfortunate circumstance of the story had happened. They looked back and the travois had become untied on top on the hides. They lost some of the things and the little boy wasn't there anymore. They just screamed right away, hey, like panicked. They went into action right away. Young man told his young wife, go up ahead, tell them I'm running back and send some help. I'm going to go look for our little guy. And he's running back and forth over the prairie. He's just in a panic, heart racing, eh? Nikos is, just yelling out, just trying to find his little guy, running back. He's just panicked. And as he was running there, his wife must have been, heading back that way too. They separated, eh? And as he was going back, he just kind of envisioned, where's this little guy? He might have just kind of woke up and maybe he jumped off. I don't know. Maybe he rolled out or something. They should have tied it down harder. All these thoughts, eh? And as he was going, all of a sudden over the prairie, you could see that smoke rising up far off in the prairie, eh? It's like, what's that? Like, and he got panicked because that smoke was moving closer. It looked like a storm. It was coming towards his path, so he started to run faster. With what energy he had left, he was running fast, trying to get over there. And he couldn't, and he noticed that, it was a herd of buffaloes running, and he was trying to beat it, but unfortunately that herd came over his path and he couldn't run ahead of it. He couldn't keep up to run ahead of it, so he tried to run alongside the back and try to get in there. And he seen a tree and he climbed up and he looked at the herd and it looked like the earth was moving. We're talking about millions and millions of buffalo a long time ago. They tried to eradicate them. They said that some of the first settlers and surveyors said that there was herds that would just constantly be moving, and it would take up to 5 days for that herd to pass. So right away that young father, climbed down and started saying his prayers at the base of this tree for his necrosis. So this is where the story happens, because on the other side, that's where that little boy was. He was walking along the tall grasses, and the herd was moving around him. And a bull kind of turned back and looking at him, like, what's going on here? And he started to push away this herd, pushing him out, making a circle around this little guy. And the little guy's crying and he's scared, like the earth is shaking. And and it's just like, and then some of the kids, when I tell the story, they just get into the herd thing again. It's really good. But anyways, he went right in front of this young boy, looking down on him, the you know, little guys down there, and so you could hear that, oh, these are the ones that always follow us. They're always hunting on us. Look at them. They just leave their little guy out here. That old bull's like smart, eh? It's like, no, there's a reason why. There's a reason why this one is here. So it's his great strength and his great power. He shoved his horns into the earth right underneath this little boy, and he raised them up high up in the air. He didn't throw them. He just picked them up and let him sat on his head on the back there, and that little before the hump and the tuft. The little boy was up there and he stopped crying because right away he felt, he's like, oh, this is, the hides that I sleep on. He felt comforted. He thought maybe he's being taken care of. But when that action and having that little guy up there was kind of like it was almost as if they relayed to the rest of the herd that he was going to take care of them. It was an act of adoption to take care of this little guy. And he was up there and he stopped crying, and now he could see all around. He could see all those other buffalo, and he started to feel safe and comforted. and they treated him like their own. They adopted him, they cared for him all the years that he was with them. It was hard. They tried their best to protect him, and teach him their ways, and he did. And I tell people this is kind of like our own kind of like Tarzan story, if you will. You could imagine this little guy growing up and understanding the language of the buffalo. As connected as we all are as an indigenous people, there's other languages, right? Like even the languages of the trees. They said that if you listen, and even some people, the stars, they have their own language, So he became more in tune with nature, and he was able to understand things that we don't. And he grew up amongst these buffalo, and as he got older, he started to realize that he was different. There wasn't apparent at first. They always made him feel at home, and that's the way we have to treat each other. We always have to take care of each other. And he was with them, and then finally they were going down to drink at this watering where the water was. It was a known spot, and there was soft clay all around. And he noticed that when he was looking at the tracks, that there's hoof prints. That was their tracks, eh? And when he was going in, he's only on two, eh? And he went down, and he was gonna go and drink his from the water, and he put his hand down, and he saw that he had hands, and he was like, oh, and he just kind of occurred to him like, oh, and he kind of like, okay, who am I, right? And he goes down and he separates his hair, and he looks into the water, and he sees his face. It's not like all his family is different, hey? And he sees that. Then he's feeling for his horns on his head. There's nothing up there. He knows he's different, and he's walking away. And he goes up to that one that adopted him. He's like, who am I? Why am I here? The one that adopted him said to him, we've always protected you. There's a special reason why you're here, but I can't tell you. You have to go and discover this. And he said to him, you have to leave us now. He said, you're strong. You know how to take care of yourself. You got to go back from where we came. So travel for 4 days, 4 nights. You're going to come across the other ones that walk on two legs. We tried to protect you from all this time. And he said goodbye. It's very emotional. It's hard to say goodbye to your family. It's a very hard thing to do, but sometimes we have to go off on our own just to discover ourselves and become strong. So he said goodbye. And as he was leaving, he was sad, of course, and he left. And he wasn't in any hurry. He wasn't running. He was just kind of walking out, and he was going out there. And then on near the fourth day, it was the night or whatever, the scouts of a community seen him coming, and they seen him like coming through the valleys and the coulees and the ravines, eh? And they sent a runner back to the community. They said, "There's something coming right towards our village. We have to be ready." So they were going. He was going straight towards that village, and the hunters and some of the protectors and the community, they were all alerted, and they were like, "Oh, something! And it's coming in the morning. What is it?" So they got ready just in case, maybe it was an enemy, maybe it was something else. And then it came closer, and all of a sudden it stopped. As soon as it got out to the perimeter of the camp, it stopped, and it turned, and they could see it was walking on two legs just like them. It was almost like he was telling them, hey, it's like, recognize me or see me. And they got scared. Our enemy doesn't attack like this. Like, this one is not even, it doesn't have clothes or moccasins or anything. It's clearly a person, right? And they were like very shocked with this, and they discovered that the elders they came out, and they seen this. Like, I don't think he's their enemies, and I don't think it's like a bad omen or a spirit or anything. I think it's just lost. Whoever or whatever this is, it's lost. I think he's just watching us. I think we should just respect his space and watch him too, you know and they very respectfully just kind of let him be there, right? And they just kind of approached him every once in a while, trying to bring him water. He would run away. Try to bring him food, he'd run away again. Try different languages, eh? all the languages that are out there. They're trying their best to communicate with this one, but he would always run away. But like kind of like a dog, he would just come back. And it was some time that he started to, get used to being around that family or the tribe or whatever. Um, and it was actually the children that made him feel comfortable at first. I know that we're coming through a lot of time. There's still more to this story, but I think that, like if you wanted to respond to anything right now, we could get back into the story in a little bit if you want. That's good. Or if you have any questions for me so far, that would be good. It is a long story, and I'm trying to do my best for this, and I always do. And I think that our culture and our people demand it. And these are one of the stories that, you know, are strong, and it has historical value. We'll get to that in the second part of the storytelling. But thank you for listening so far.
I'm loving this story, Kevin, and I've heard you tell little pieces of it before, I think. Like I've heard some of it before, but I've never heard it like this. So it's kind of epic. It's great. I'm loving the detail and and the I can't wait for what comes next. So yeah, so
You
for those
haven't
of you
even hit the climax.
yeah. So for those of you who are just joining us, you are on 90.5 FM, Homelands of the Métis and Treaty 6 territory here in Saskatoon. Uh, and this is CFCR Community Radio. And you are listening to storyteller, spoken word artist, visual artist, multi-editor, multifaceted artist Kevin Wesaquate from Piapot First Nation and Treaty 4, and he lives here in Saskatoon. I'm Auntie Andy, your host. We're just coming up to the end of our first half hour, and after the break, we will be coming back to more of this story from Kevin, and you'll get to hear what happens next. Kevin, did you want to like sing us out or anything right now? Like we have like just a couple of minutes left, or
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know much songs. I'm just learning, so bear with me.
yeah.
There's this song that Joseph is trying to teach me right now, and I don't know if I got it right. We are all one nation. We are all one family. We are all one color in her eyes. Hey, 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 I don't know. I can't. Like I said, I'm learning. I'm going to get there. But yeah, this is another thing to the resume. Just try to learn. I've been focused on getting these songs right, and I don't want to butcher, Mushroom song here. So I want to do my best.
Yeah, I
I'm
love
not,
that one. We are all
yeah,
one people. Yeah.
yeah,
It's too
that's
bad
it.
we can't it's too bad we can't sing together on Zoom, but it sounds like it gets distorted. We
It
are
does.
all one people. Yeah, I love that
Yeah,
music.
I love that.
And
Yeah.
it sounded great when you sang it. I love it. You sound traditional. Yeah, so you're on CFCR 90.5 FM in Saskatoon, and you're listening to Homelands with Auntie Andy and Kevin Wesaquate. And we're gonna head to the break now so you can hear a few words from our sponsors and our advertisers, and then we will be right back. So join us for the second half of this storytelling hour. We are on every second Saturday morning, and you can catch Homelands. You can also catch us on our YouTube channel. You can find us on Facebook so that you can catch the shows, anything that you've missed or you want to watch old seasons. We've got a whole collection on there. It's a bit tricky to find because there's an American show called Homelands. But if you Google Homelands Kevin Wesaquade or Homelands Norman Fleury to get to the very first one, then you can pick from all the episodes. You'll be able to find them all. So, with that, join us after this brief commercial break. Don't turn that dial, there's more to come.